please forgive me. But you all know me anyway. Our subject is canonical works. We try to make it interesting and informative, because otherwise the subject is, when you go through this, you'll be lost. So many names, 45 agams and Digambar scriptures and other scriptures, and about, you will see about 80, 90 names in these 3 pages. And once you start reading, you'll be lost. So we'll make it interesting, yes? Right. My own interest started with canonical works in Jainism about 30 years ago. There are lots of manuscripts in England. Something like 1,200 manuscripts are preserved in British Library. 1,000 manuscripts are preserved in Wellcome Institute, is under Glaxo Laboratories. Some in Oxford and some in various places here. So, long time ago, about 30 years ago, I was asking myself questions. What is Kalpa Sutra? What's written in this? All these things. I have inquisitive mind, so somebody told me that there is a manuscript in British Museum. I went there and saw it. But in British Museum, you can't just take it out and read or do anything there. It was just there in the glass cabinet. So then I thought that I must read Kalpa Sutra. Then I inquired everywhere, and someone told me that there's a place called India Office Records and Library on Blackfriar Road. So I went there. To my amazement, they've got lots of literature, manuscripts, old books, not just Jainism, everything Oriental, Indian books, Indian maps, documents, court records. See what happened? British ruled India for 200 years. So right from 1810, they started bringing everything to London. And they kept at one place. Previously it was East India Company, not the British government, which was ruling India, East India Company. So it was under the East India Company's ownership, that building and everything was here. But then it came under the ownership of British Library and British government directly. So it was a 9-story building with all sorts of records, everything there. Yeah. So all I had to do was to go there, ask for a certain manuscripts and read. So I took 1 month's leave from my job, and for one whole month I went there every morning and started studying Jain scriptures. 1 month wasn't enough. The whole lifetime is not enough. If you see the list of books here. But that my interest grew from reading Kalpa Sutra and other things, and now you know me, that I still read every day, Without reading something about Jainism, I can't sleep really. Yeah. So, but that is how my interest developed in Jainism. Yeah. It was a literary interest, not a religious interest. Because I want to know what is Kalpa Sutra, what is Uttaradhyayana Sutra, what is Acharanga Sutra, all these things. And then obviously you become a religious person, and it helps you. So it has helped me very much, all these scriptures. Then I took early retirement after. Since last 10, 12 years I retired and doing all these things all the time. So what about canonical literature? Let's see the whole thing from a different angle. If I give you 3 words, which I mentioned in my class one day in Vinodbhai, that everything has origination, utpatti, beginning. Then everything has continuation, existence. And then everything has destruction, end. So these are the three words which Mahavir Swami gave to his disciples. Uppannaiva, Vigaiva, Dhuvaiva. ગુજરાતીમાં કહે તો દરેક વસ્તુનું બિગિનિંગ છે, કન્ટિન્યુએશન છે, એન્ડ છે. Now it is said that Mahavir Swami said just these three words, and all Ganadharas, 11 disciples of Mahavir Swami, you know some of their names, isn't it? Gautam Swami, Sudharma Swami, Ganadhar. So they started thinking about this thing and they composed all these scriptures. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? The 3 words હતા, and you start compiling all these things. But if you think about it, the beginning is there, then there is a continuation, and then there is an end. What I recommend is one day you sit down in your front room or bedroom, start thinking about these 3 words. Everything has got this, not just our universe, our earth, our own existence, our thought process, what we see, speak, what we do in our life, our projects, even this course, the beginning, continuation, our existence, and then end. Our life is like that, everything is like that. So Jain scriptures are based on these 3 words. And then Mahavir Swami's 11 disciples, as I said, they were all Brahmins, they were all Pandits, scholars, and they started compiling all the scriptures. Obviously Mahavir Swami said much more than just 3 words, because he was giving discourses, in his sermons regularly. So whatever they learned from Mahavir Swami, they used to remember everything. During the lifetime of Mahavir Swami, 9 disciples, 9 Ganadhar died. They died earlier. Only 2 survived, Gautam Swami and Sudharma Swami. Gautam Swami had already attained Keval Jnana just day after Mahavir Swami's death. We know it, isn't it? Mahavir Swami's Nirvana is Diwali day. The day after is Gautam Swami's Keval Jnana day. Yeah? So Gautam Swami didn't carry on writing and that thing, So it came to Sudharma Swami. He was the 5th one in the line of 11 disciples. So Sudharma Swami compiled everything. And Sudharma Swami's disciple, his Shishya was Jambu Swami. So what happened? Mahavir Swami told everything to Sudharma Swami. Sudharma Swami told everything to Jambu Swami. So if you read all Shwetambar scriptures, the very first sentence is this: Soyam Maya Bhagavaya Evam Akhaya. Sudharma Swami is telling Jambu Swami that, "Oh Jambu, please listen to this, and I am telling you whatever Lord Mahavir has told me." That's how the scriptures begin. Simple. So that is the whole process, or whatever we call it. This is how it began. So initially what happened? Sudharma Swami remembered everything, what Mahavir Swami said, Then Jambu Swami remembered everything. Then Swayambhu Swami and Sambhuti Vijay, Bhadrabahu and Sthula Bhadra, and then the whole process went on like this. Everything remembered. But if I tell you something, for 1 hour or 2 hours, then you are not say listening, you are somewhere else, then he will tell you tell, okay, he will tell you and everything. By the time it goes to last person, not 100% will survive. So that is what happened. People could not remember everything because in olden times the system was that you got to remember everything, you got to learn by heart everything. But that wasn't possible. Generation to generation, you lose something. See, my Gujarati is perfect. My daughter's Gujarati is less than perfect. And my daughter's Gujarati, how. That's what happens here. And that has happened everywhere. So that happened in the Jain religion. That happened. So there were some conferences. First conference was in Pataliputra, where they started discussing everything, Jain scriptures, and they started, all the scholars came, monks, and they started remembering and telling each other what is right and what is wrong. But they didn't write down anything. It's not that they could not write. But the idea was that no, we must remember everything. Then there was a second conference in Mathura. They did the same thing. And then there was a third conference in Vallabhi. Vallabhi is in the state of Gujarat. Vallabhipur, અત્યારે એનું નામ વારા છે. It's not far from Bhavnagar. It was very religious and a big town during that time, Vallabhipur. It was a kingdom. So that was the third conference in Vallabhipur. And at that time, they decided that we must write everything down, otherwise we lose all these things, because we can't remember everything. Our disciple and disciples, and they are forgetting something all the time. So that happened 980 years after Mahavir Swami's death. 980 years. And they decided that we write everything down. They put everything down. So whatever we have got now in Svetambar tradition, that is Svetambar Murti Pujak, as well as Svetambar Sthanapasi and all that, that is what was written 908 years after Mahavir Swami's death. We got everything intact from that date, from that day on. Everything's been survived. Nothing's been lost. Because they wrote everything. And from then on, the copies were made from the original, and copy from the copy and everything. So we have got these scriptures. So let me mention a few names. First let me explain about the Svetambar tradition, then we'll go to Digambar. As I say, whatever Mahavir Swami told was written down. That is Svetambar scriptures. There are 45 books. They're called Agams. Right? 45. The Svetambar Agams. Now, I will explain that all Svetambar people do not believe in 45 Agams. Again, obviously there are differences, but that I will explain later on. Right. Why we call them Agam? There are many meanings of this word. Agam means agathi chalu age, which is coming on from generations, that is Agam. Agam means the knowledge given by Guru, that is also one of the meanings. That's why we call them Agams. But it said that even before the time of Lord Mahavir, we had some scriptures, and they were called Purvas. And there were 14 Purvas. Have you heard that? Samaro mantra bhalo navkar, ye hai 14 purva ka saar. Ye hai 14 purva no saar. The mantra navkar is the essence of 14 purvas. So purvas are of ancient literature, even before Agam. We haven't got that. It's all lost. That happened. That was before Mahavir Swami's time.
Were they written?
They were not written. No.
Just by
They used to remember. Yeah, this was the oral tradition. That's right. Yeah. So what we have got is Agams now.
Only.
Agams. And of course the Digambar scriptures which I mentioned in a minute. So, but our Agams are more or less based on that ancient knowledge of 14 Purvas. And as I said, there are 45 Agams. Now the list of Agams will be given in this one. So I am not going to read over. Otherwise you will feel that it's boring, because the subject is somewhat, yeah.
What was the originator of Purvas?
Purva, they call it Tirthankars, explained all these things, written or compiled, written in the sense that not written actually, but compiled by, composed by our Tirthankaras here. Right, so 45 Agams. Now it has been divided into main limbs, subsidiary, and some miscellaneous books. Main limbs. That if you imagine a person has got main limbs, hands, legs, head, everything. That is Anga. In Sanskrit or Prakrit or Gujarati language, we call it Anga, limbs. So the initial or the very first books of these Agams are Anga. And there were actually 12 Angas. Bar Anga Bukati. Again the last 10, 12th has been forgotten. So we have got 11 now. Right now we have got 11. There used to be 12. We have got 11 Anga books. That's the main scriptures of our religion. Very first. 11 Anga books. Yeah? So after the Gandharas died, the chief disciples of Mahavir Swami, especially Sudharma Swami, died. His disciples and disciples started writing other books. So they wrote books based on Anga, based on the original 11 books. And they are Upa Anga. Upa Anga means subsidiary books. Upanga. See, hand, fingers and other things, palm and all this. These are Upanga, subsidiary. So there are 12 subsidiary books, 12 Upanga, 11 Anga, 12 Upanga. Then obviously other monks and nuns and learned acharyas wrote other books. There are Mula Sutra, Cheda Sutra, Prakirnak, and so on. If you want to write down, there are 4 Mula Sutras. Six are called Cheda Sutras. Just further explanations and commentaries, and then 10 miscellaneous books. And even 2 more books were compiled after those 10 miscellaneous books. So 2, you can add 2 on that. So let's see how many altogether, if I am not mistaken. Upangs 12.
And 6.
6 Chhed Sutra, 10 miscellaneous. 10 miscellaneous and 2 more after that. Yeah.
46
11 Upang, Anga Upang?
Oh, 11.
11. Anga are 11. Because there used to be 12, but we got 11.
So 11, 25, 6, 7,
45 again. These are agams. 45. So that's our sacred literature, canonical literature, whatever you call it, our heritage. Yeah? Based on Mahavir Swami's Upadesh sermon. So these are 45 original agams. And as I said, not all 45 been written during the time of Mahavir Swami, or not composed during the time of Mahavir Swami. First 11 probably are the direct Upadesh, direct sermon of Lord Mahavir Swami. First 11 is Anga book. So now let me give you few more names within these agams. Yeah? Because if I read just 45 names, you will find that, oh, this is somewhat boring and we don't want to remember all these things, isn't it? Yeah? Where Gyarma, main one, the very first book called Acharanga Sutra. All 11 has got Anga word at the end. Acharanga. Because they are the main limbs. Acharanga. So that is the very first book, Acharanga Sutra. Of course, I'm not going to give you all that 45 names, but what? So Acharanga, it's been said that this is a direct, based on direct sermon for Mahavir Swami. I recommend this book very much. Must read this. English translation, Hindi translation, Gujarati translation, all translations are available. It's a beautiful work. It's been divided in 2 parts. First part is the Upadesh, sermon, advice, whatever you call it. Second part is Samachari. Samachari is code of conduct for monks and nuns. But in the very first chapter of Acharanga Sutra, and it's revolutionary thinking, no scripture or no literature in the whole world, in history of the whole world, says this thing, that plants feel pain and they are cut. That is in Acharanga Sutra. Life है, सब जगह है. Plant may be है, and they feel pain. They have got pleasure in it. Before science said that there is a life in plants, Yeah. Acharanga Sutra says this. So this is our first scripture, Acharanga Sutra. And as I said, English translation is available, Hindi is available, Gujarati is available. And I am going to mention one interesting thing about this. So Jain tradition is somewhat different. We worship our books, our literature, our scriptures, everything. We preserve them. And as I said, we have preserved everything nicely. After that last conference in Vallabi, We have preserved everything nicely. What did we do? What did we do?
Forget about it.
Huh? We have nice books, handwritten beautiful manuscripts kept in the cellars with nice clothing and string and everything. We keep out, we bring them out once a year, worship them, put worship on and put them there. Nobody is reading. Actually, we had lost, everything went down. There's an advantage and disadvantage of everything. We preserved everything, but they were preserved in just books. And our monks and nuns, they were allowed to read. There were scholarly acharyas. They knew everything. But they said that it's not for ordinary householders, not for Shravak and Shravikas. You cannot read them. Too sacred. So, I want to read something or you want to read something. You were not allowed. I wasn't allowed. But that changed in early 19th century. Few German scholars and English, they came to India. Especially one name, Hermann Jacobi. Hermann Jacobi was a scholar of Indian religions and Indian culture. He was a professor in Oxford. He went to India in Jaisalmer in 1850s. Remember, that was the time, forget about email and mobile phone and all these things, And a place like Jaisalmer, he stayed there for months and months and months and months. Started learning Prakrit language. Got all these manuscripts out. Jaisalmer has got a very big bhandar. Thousands of manuscripts have been preserved in Jaisalmer's bhandar. He brought them out. He started reading them. And then he translated them into English. And he published 4 books, 2 volumes, 4 scriptures. Acharam Sutra, Uttaradhyayam Sutra, Kalpa Sutra, and Sutra Krutanga. These 4 scriptures were translated by him into English. And they were published from Oxford or London, I'm not sure, under Macmillan series. These books were published. Now, it's a strange thing that someone who came from outside and told us, look, how great your religion is. The foreword of this book is worth reading. And he has praised Jainism like anything. That is a great religion, great scriptures, Whatever is written in Acharam Sutra and the revolutionary thing. He wrote about Mahavir Swami's life, and about Kalpa Sutra and everything. And then our scholars realized that what we have got, what's our heritage. We are ignoring all these things. We are worshipping our books. We are not learning anything. So he did a pioneering work, Hermann Jacobi. Then there are other scholars like Subrin, Weber, Stevenson, especially German scholars did a lot of work for Jain scriptures. So these were first translation of Acharam Sutra. That's our first scripture. I mentioned few books. As I said, I'm not going to mention all 45, but these books you must read here. One is Uttaradhyayam Sutra. It is said that it's the last sermon of Lord Mahavira.
Which one does it come under?
It comes in the Mool Sutra.
Mool.
Yeah. Uttaradhyayam Sutra. It has got 36 chapters. Just before Lord Mahavir died at Nirvana, it said that he spoke for 48 hours continuously in Samvatsara. 48 hours. 40 કલાક સુધી ઉપદેશ. And that sermon is the Uttarayadhyam Sutra. First we are learning about Svetambar scriptures, then we'll go to the compartments. Yeah? So that's Uttarayadhyam Sutra. A beautiful book. Full of short stories, questions and answers, and beautiful sentences in Prakrit language. So again, English translation, Hindi, Gujarati translations are available, widely available. So first was Acharan Sutra, I recommend, then Uttarayadhyam Sutra, then there is a book called Kalpa Sutra. Kalpa Sutra has got the life of Lord Mahavir in detail, and other Tirthankara's life in just very small passages about that.
So this one comes under what?
Kalpa Sutra, actually, when you read the names of all 45 agams, you wouldn't read the name Kalpa Sutra anywhere.
Okay.
There is one scripture called Dasha Sruta Skandha. So Kalpa Sutra is a part of Dasha Sruta Skandha. It's like Bhagavad Gita.
Mm-hmm.
Bhagavad Gita is in Mahabharata, isn't it? Yeah. So Kalpa Sutra is within the book. Dasasruta Skandha is part of that scripture.
And that scripture is not also one of those.
Not in Anga or Upanga. Yeah. You read one of the 45. So Kalpa Sutra, of course, because life of Lord Mahavir is worth reading, and every year during the time of Parishana, in a Svetambar tradition, especially Svetambar Murti Puja tradition, we read Kalpa Sutra. Kalpa Sutra is read in such a manner that on the 5th day of Pariyushan, we read about the birth of Lord Mahavir. That particular passage is usually read. That is why the 5th day of Pariyushan is called Mahavir Janma Vachan Day. People loosely call it Mahavir Jayanti. It's not Mahavir Jayanti. It's the day when we read about Mahavir Swami's life, Mahavir Swami's birth, really. So that's Kalpa Sutra. And the 4th Herman Jacobi translated was the Sutra Krutanga. That's general philosophy, Nav Tattva, and all these things included in Sutra Krutanga.
And that will come under?
That comes into list of the first 12 Anga books. Because Sutra Kruta Anga, the last word will be Anga. These are the main initial scriptures, main limbs. So I hope I'm not making you aware. Okay, so that's about Svetambar scriptures. What about the language then? What's the language of the scripture? Anybody knows? Prakrit language, yeah. Why we are in Prakrit language?
Because at that time, that was the language which was spoken.
Spoken by common mass.
Common people. Yeah.
Common people, yeah. That is why Mahavir Swami and Lord Buddha,
Yeah.
Buddhism, they spoke in people's language, not in the language of scholars and pandits and all, those Brahmin pandits.
At that time, was Sanskrit also there?
Sanskrit was there. Even Sanskrit, even Hindu scriptures like the Rig Veda and all four Vedas, Upanishads, everything's been composed in Sanskrit.
So
Sanskrit is very ancient language. Yeah.
The Prakrit was after Sanskrit, or was a more
Prakrit,
simplified?
there are different opinions. One solid opinion, or lots of scholars say that Sanskrit came from outside actually. Aryan people brought Sanskrit language with them. But there existed local language in India, especially in northern part of India. In that language, Prakrit means natural language. People used to speak in their own way. So the Prakrit and Sanskrit got mixed up. And Mahavir Swami spoke in that language of common people, everybody could understand it. So our Jain scriptures are written in Prakrit language. Buddhist scriptures are also written in Prakrit language. Because Mahavira and Buddha, both this great man, God, they thought that, of course, we don't want to speak in Brahmins Sanskrit language. We don't want to speak for learned only. We want to speak for common mass. A ordinary man should understand what I am saying. So they are in Prakrit language. Now when I say Prakrit has two variations. Jain scriptures are in Ardha Magadhi language and Buddhist scriptures are in Pali language. Both are Prakrit. You can say they are in Prakrit language, no harm,
Both are spoken differently?
Slightly. But if you understand Ardha Magadhi, you will understand Pali. So Buddhist scriptures are in Pali language, especially this Buddhist holy book Dhammapada, is very similar to Jain scriptures, and some of the sentences are same in Uttarajayana Sutra and in Dhammapada. Some of the sentences are same. This line of thinking was saying what they said about anger and greed and ego, same sentences. Yeah. Want to write down anything further on that one? No, that's okay. So 45 agams, right. Let me mention.
There's one thing about script. They say Brahmi script. What does that mean?
Brahmi script is very ancient script, perhaps older than the Sanskrit language. Rishabdev Bhagwan had two daughters, Brahmi and Sundari. It said that Bhagwan Rishabdev taught everything, Asi, Masi and Krusi, the art of writing, agriculture, weapons and all these things. So Rishabdev's Bhagwan's daughter was Brahmi. The very first alphabet of India is called Brahmi alphabet. So that Brahmi language did exist before Sanskrit and Prakrit. But there is no scripture in Brahmi language. There's nothing. Only we have found this Navkar mantra written in Brahmi language. And that Navkar mantra is not the same which we are reciting now. Not all 9 sentences are same. Only the first and second one. But that's in Brahmi language. But that's dead. Prakrit is dead. No one speaks Prakrit language in India now. There's no newspaper, no radio program, no TV program. Nothing is dead language. Sanskrit is not dead. It's an older language.
But all these agams are written in Prakrit or Sanskrit?
But Prakrit.
Then who reads that? If the language is...
It's dead now.
Yeah.
Now. But it was very much alive during the time of Lord Mahavir.
Yeah, but now they can read the Prakrit.
Oh yes, it has been, I mean, taught in university. Yeah. Dead in the sense that when you go to Bombay and Ahmedabad or Delhi, you wouldn't find anyone speaking this language. Or there is no newspaper. But Sanskrit, there's newspaper in Sanskrit language right now in India. There are radio programs coming once a week in Sanskrit language. So Sanskrit is still, I would say, very much alive.
And Prakrit and Sanskrit, what is the difference?
Prakrit, as I said, was the language of common mass. It was different. It was there when Aryan people came.
Speaking was different.
Speaking, let me say, there are a lot of original Prakrit words, a lot of Sanskrit words mixed in it. When we say Ekvis, 21, this is in Gujarati, right? Prakrit was say Ognis, 19. In Sanskrit it was Ek on Unvis. Ek Unvis, 1 less than 20. That is Sanskrit, Ekun. In Prakrit it was Ognis. That is also 19, which came from Ek Unvis, 19. Out of Prakrit language came very four prominent languages: Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi and Bengali. So Prakrit is there. But what happened? 4 languages developed from this language here. Because people went from northern part of India, from the state of Bihar, some went to Rajasthan, Gujarat, Bengal side, that side. So we have got 4 languages now: Gujarati, Marathi, Hindi and Bengali. So the words, some of the words are still there, and that the example I gave you, Ognis, that is word in the Prakrit language, and we, in Gujarati people still say Ognis, 19. Some of the words never changed yet.
When did the present version of now government start?
Well, no one knows really. It's a matter of faith rather than going back in history or saying something about that. But what we have found in the Kalpasutra and lots of other scriptures are 2 sentences only: Namo Varihantan, Namo Siddhanam. But it is said that Naukar mantra is eternal. So it always existed in one form or the other. Maybe all these 9 sentences weren't there, but people used to worship Arihanta and Siddha. In that sense, Naukar mantra is eternal. But as I said, it's a matter of faith rather than exactly saying that no, it wasn't there or it was there. You might upset someone if you say that it wasn't there. Yeah. Okay. Back to our original. So that's about language. The number of scriptures, 45, some of the important scriptures which I recommend. Now, in 15th century, there is a man was born in India whose name was Lonkha Shah in the state of Gujarat, in Ahmedabad. He was employed by a Mughal Suba or whatever you call it, Mughal governor of Ahmedabad. He used to write beautifully. His handwriting was so good that he was specially employed by the Mughal people. And he used to copy in Farsi language, in Gujarati language things, and even he started copying Jain scriptures because his handwriting was so good. And he started learning Jain scriptures. His name was Lonkha Shah, as I said. Then he came to conclusion that Jain people have forgotten what the original Jainism is. And he started his own ideology, which we call as Thanakvasi sect now. So it's comparatively a new sect within Jainism, Thanapasi sect. He is, yeah,
So did he, was I a prophet and did he understand it?
yeah, he did.
So it's spoken prophet then. Was it like Latin or?
No, not spoken.
You just
Because
understood it?
you learn from someone,
Yeah.
and then you can understand. I mean, people still understand language.
The
in
same as
India.
now.
Yeah, same as now. And Samniji knows Prakrit. I know 30-40%, not 100%. Yeah. So Lokasa founded, well, he didn't exactly started this sect, but Lokasa's disciple, Virji, he started or he founded this new sect within Jainism, which is Thanapasi sect. They do not believe in temples and idol worship. Why I am mentioning this now? Because of the scriptures. Our subject is scriptures, isn't it? How many scriptures, as I said, we have got in Shvetambara ideology? 45. So what Thanapasis did, they said that no, some of the scriptures are not acceptable to us. Why? They didn't believe in temples and murti puja. So some scriptures were removed from this list. So Thanapasis believe in 32 scriptures. So 45 scriptures for Shvetambara Murti Pujaks, 32 for Thanapasi. Now shall we go to Digambar scriptures? Not trying to make it heavy. As I said, you can read all the names there, Digambar scriptures now. Something like 170 years after the death, Nirvana of Lord Mahavir, there was a great Acharya in India during that time, Bhadrabahu Swami. You know Vasagaram Stutra, been composed by Bhadrabahu Swami. Last person who remembered all 14 ancient Purvas, that was Bhadrabahu Swami. Now at that time there was a big famine in India. Famine lasted for quite long. Then rain. People had all sorts of hardship getting food and water and that. And lots of monks, especially Bhadrabahu Swami and his disciples, migrated to South India. If you go to South India, there are a lot of Digambar people are still living there. Isn't it? And one king also went with Bhadrabahu Swami, Chandragupta. And they stuck to their own principle. And that principle was that whether Lord Mahavir was wearing any clothing or not. What are the real principles of Jainism? So they had different opinion about everything. And when some of the monks came back to North India after famine, they saw that all those people who were already there in North India believed in these 45 agams and all these things. And people who came back from South India, back there again, they said that no, we don't want to believe in your theory of 45 agams, because everything was lost after Lord Mahavir's death. Nobody remembered anything. So how come you got these 45 books? And how come you wear these white clothing? That's monks, yeah? They said that no, Mahavir Swami wasn't wearing anything. He was sky-clad. So an ideology within ideology developed, or you can say that divisions started. So that is Digambar Sampradaya. Yeah? Digambars rejected 45 agams and they compiled their own scriptures, which we call Prabrut or Pahus. Again, the list of some of the Prabhuts are in there. But the scriptures which may interest you are written by Kundacharya. Samaysar, Niyamsar, Pravchansar. These are all Digambar scriptures. Because as I said, again, very beautiful books, especially Samaysar is, you can say, the holy book for Digambar Sampradaya. Samaysar has been really worshipped by Digambar people and worth reading. Personally, I believe in all the scriptures. Samaysar is good for us, Kalpasutra is good for us, Acharam Sutra, everything, treasure house of knowledge. Again, Samaysar has been translated into English, Gujarati, Hindi. Even you will see the translation on the internet. Yeah, most of these books are now on internet, especially those I mentioned, Acharam Sutra, they are on internet.
So, and besides minor differences, when you read Samaysar or Niyamsar, is the main ideology is very similar?
Ideology is very similar. The way you see things, that is different. You can say this principle of Anekanpada, seeing the philosophy of Atma and the Karma from completely different angle. Especially Samaysar. Samaysar is somewhat difficult to grasp, but it's very good philosophy. It talks about Nischay and Vyavaharaya. What is pure theoretical and what practical? Theoretically, our Atma, our soul cannot be tainted. It's always pure and it will remain pure. But practically, right now, our soul is not pure because of our kasaya and our thinking and everything. So there is a theoretical aspect and practical aspect. So Samaysar goes much more in the theoretical aspect. And that is why some of the Digambar monks and you will find that they are more towards that ideology, that I am Atma, I am pure soul, Yeah.
But this Thanapasi in Digambar only started after...
No, Digambar started something like in AD 80.
So
that is 8 years ago.
So Digambar started before...
Much more earlier. After Bhadrabhahu's time. But Sthanapasi ideology is comparatively recent, 15th, 16th century.
Yeah, but before Thanapasi and Digambar, they were very strong with each other, no? The religion. They didn't want to mix with each other and all that. It was very, very strong.
That is unfortunately true.
About 50, 60.
During the history of Jainism, this is I would say a wrong thing, a black thing, whatever you can say. Sthanapasi didn't like Dheravasi didn't like Sthanapasis, Digambar didn't like Shwetambar didn't like Digambar, Yeah.
But now they are getting together.
Now it's much more better. It's very good. And yeah. the marriages and other things and it was happening everywhere. Yeah. But that
So
was
still in India they are different or only here?
even in India it's better than what it was. Much better now. Even Sthanapasi and Iravasi differences are almost wiped out, not completely. Yeah. But I remember an incident when once I went to Samet Sikhar and I saw three ladies who had come to pilgrimage there in Samet Sikhar, and they said that we are from, they were three sisters. They said that we have come for pilgrimage here in Samet Sikhar. We are all from Shwetambar tradition. And I said, what about your husbands? They said, no, we married in the Sthanapasi families and they refused to come. They just refused that we don't want to know about their asars and murti and all these things. So they didn't come and we have come here. So that was the time, 40, 50 years ago. Husband said, no, I will never enter the premises.
50 years ago.
Just 40, 50 years ago, I myself saw that. But now, of course, you will see that Sthanapasis, Deravasis, Shvetambars, Digambars, Therapanthis all mix very well.
Is it the new generation?
New generation, new trend, everything people have started really
More
learning,
awareness.
more awareness. Yeah, everything is there. Which is good thing. One more reason is the Jain social group, which I must mention. Jain social group is purely a social group, eat, drink soft drinks obviously, and enjoy yourself. That's a Jain social group. But Jain social group started accepting Sthanapasi, Theravasi, Digambar, Therapati from all sects, from all denominations. And that brought everybody together on one platform, enjoying themselves, That has helped quite a lot in India. There are more than 260 Jain social groups worldwide. So this type of movement, that has helped quite a lot. Something more about scriptures. I mentioned Shwetambar scriptures, Digambar scriptures, language. Now there are some books which are quite important. One is Tattvarth Sutra. Now, is it a Shwetambar book or Digambar book? Any idea?
Both reasons.
No one knows. That is why Shwetambars believe in Tattva Sutra, Digambars also believe in Tattva Sutra. And why? Because the writer, Uma Swati, no one knows, no one knew that whether he was a Shwetambar monk or a Digambar monk. Shwetambars obviously say that he was a Shwetambar monk. And Digambar said that no, he was a Digambar monk. Doesn't matter. He wrote a very nice book, Tattva Sutra. That happened in around 1st century. And that book has been accepted by Shwetambars, Digambars alike. And that has been translated into English, Hindi, Gujarati, all languages. English translation is available under the name of That Which Is, translated by Nathmal Tatia, published by Institute of Jainology. The only thing about Tattva Sutra is somewhat, it's not an easygoing book, If you want to recommend this book to an outsider, he might find that, is this Jainism? He might lose interest. So it's not for the beginners, or not for a person who is non-Jain. It's a beautiful book. Just 10 small chapters. The whole book is less than this, but the commentary is very good. Other than that, I can mention or I can answer anything about any scriptures, whatever you want to know. I didn't want to make it boring or because the subject is otherwise. If you start reading in this one, you'll be lost in too many names and too many other things. But obviously, for your purpose for exam, maybe you are required to remember few names. So please do that.
Which book do you study deeply?
I study deeply. But not one book. Many. I'm reading Jainism since last 30 years, continuously. And as I said, one lifetime is not enough to know about Jainism. It's an ocean of knowledge.
When you talked about the different sects, the different scriptures, we rarely hear what is the central aspect of Jainism. That seems to be common.
That's common. Ahimsa.
So why are we then getting diverted? As you said, the original scriptures, they don't exist. The Purvas have disappeared.
Yeah.
So what we have is still the interpretation of them.
What they used to remember,
Yeah.
what was in Purva, it is written down in Anga Sutra and then Upanga Sutra and
So
everything.
any faith, you can have different interpretations,
That
but
is.
it's like the central message if it's the same. One wonders why Jains are split up.
But that's human nature, really, isn't it? Human nature, yeah. If I say something, say about ahimsa, and if I give you a code of conduct, this and this you must do, then someone will come along and say that no, this is not quite right, this is not 100% right, we must do this thing. And someone will say that no, we must do this thing. So the interpretation on code of conduct, how you behave, and all these things, it's human nature. People contradict. People say that no, this is not right. Even as I said, all 45 agams were there. But the Digambar said that no. You cannot say that this is Mahavir Swami's direct sermon. We don't want to believe in your 45 agams. We will compile our own. So Digambars compile their own scriptures. Even within Shvetambars, then Thanapasi sect started in 15th century. So that is what is happening all the time.
The scriptures were written quite late after Lord Mahavira's Nirvana.
They were penned down quite late, yeah.
Yeah.
People used to remember, yes.
So what would be the extent of their mind, power and intellect of all the disciples?
Oh, I must say very good. People could remember everything because, let me put it crudely, their full-time job was to remember these things, isn't it? Yeah. They had to recite every day, from morning to evening, go over again and again and again. So they could remember everything. And their mind power was also very good.
Remembering is one thing, like a parrot question.
Yeah.
Analyzing it and discussing it and...
But there were scholars who could analyze, discuss, put nice commentary, everything. Our Jain history is full of so many great scholars you wouldn't believe. Sometimes I mention few names like Kundacharya, Bhadrabahu Swami, Thulabhadra, even on 11th century, Hemchandracharya, Veer Vijay Suri, who went in a Mughal darbar, and explained all about Jainism to Mughal Emperor Akbar, that is Veer Vijay Suri. So many monks and nuns, they were so knowledgeable. We cannot believe the power of their knowledge and the depth of their knowledge and interpretation.
But the word Jina,
Yes.
the word Jina of Jain started from Mahavir Swami.
Maybe before that. Jina, the one who attains victory over his inner passions, anger, greed, hope, everything. Yeah, that's Jain.
These 45 agams, is the subject matter for each one of the books very, very different, or are they all intertwined? So each book would be
different subjects. Some of them intertwined. Like Acharan Sutra is about ahimsa, and the second part is code of conduct for monks and nuns. Kalpa Sutra is the biography of Lord Mahavir. Sutra Krutang is the Nav Tattva and everything. Surya Pragnapti, Chandra Pragnapti, Jambudi Pragnapti is about the Jain universe, geography, how the continents and where are they, measurements of all the continents and rivers and oceans and everything. These are 3 scriptures about that. So different subjects, yes. Lot of subjects about, lot of scriptures about code of conduct for monks. Quite a lot. The last 2 I mentioned, Nandi Sutra and Anuyog Dwara. They are the scripture about the scriptures. Especially Nandi Sutra is about that.
Some of the scriptures were written on palm leaves. So have they still been preserved? Or banana leaves or
Palm
leaves.
Very, very few scriptures have been preserved because the leaves, they get spoiled due to weather effect and everything. Yeah. Most of the scriptures we have got are written on paper. Yeah. Because the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy. Yeah. Still very much authentic.
As you say, the material you found here came via East India Company. How did they go to Germany?
Lots of German scholars see that one common thing about Germany and India. German people call themselves Aryan people. We call ourselves Aryan people. So there is a common root, Aryan. Hitler used to call himself Aryan. He had his own pride about Aryan blood. Yeah? False pride, but he had his own pride. He used to believe in swastika, which is a symbol of India and a Sanskrit thing. He used it for a wrong purpose and did all sorts of wrong things. But that came from the Indian philosophy. And that philosophy was common. Sanskrit language and the root was common. The idea of swastik was there. Idea of the Aryan blood, superior blood was there in German people, and it was same thing in Indian people. So there was a common root. So there were lots of German scholars who wanted to learn Sanskrit. They went to India, learned Sanskrit, learned Prakrit, and got a lot of books and brought to Germany, to Berlin. The largest collection of Jain manuscript outside India is in Berlin. The second largest is in London. And third, perhaps in France or in America. America, Smithsonian in Washington has got a few Jain manuscripts. See, during that time, they didn't have to ask anyone that, shall I take this book? They ruled the country, English. So it was their protecting. So that's how they brought everything here. Yeah. So they brought, English brought more than 10,000 manuscripts, out of which more than 1,000 are Jain manuscripts. More than 10,000 manuscripts have been brought to England. And I'll tell you an interesting story. There was a surveyor general called Williams in India in 1850s. He was, being a surveyor general, being an engineer, He knew logarithm and mathematics and everything. And somebody told him that Indian people knew about logarithm some 8, 9 centuries ago. There were books about logarithm in India. So he started searching these books, maths and logarithms. He went to South India and collected few manuscripts. Then his interest grew, and he himself collected 10,000 manuscripts. 10,000, Williams did. From South India, from Gujarat, from Punjab, Rajasthan, Bihar, everything, on all sorts of subjects. He could not read everything. So, and then he brought everything to London. The interesting thing is that when he died, his wife thought that, what shall I do with all this junk? Huh? All old papers, and there was no room to keep the house. You need 2, 3 rooms maybe to keep everything. So she thought about disposing all these things. But fortunately, she asked East India Library here, because it was East India Company who ruled India, not the British government. So she said, you want to buy all these things? My husband brought everything from India. Her husband has spent a lot of money, his own money during that time, collecting all these things and transporting all this to London. And she sold everything for, say, maybe £500 or £1,000, And East India Company bought everything, and kept in this building, I said, on Blackfriar Road, India Office Records and Library. And everything was kept there, still there. Still there means now it's been moved to the British Library. So everything is still there. 10,000. And then other people also brought a lot of things. That's how it came here. And Glaxo Laboratories. Glaxo manufactures medicines. Glaxo had employed one Punjabi man, Punjabi scholar in India. And Glaxo said that Indian people have got knowledge about medicine and all these things, So search for old manuscripts about medicines and bring everything here. So this Punjabi scholar, he didn't know even Prakrit or Sanskrit or anything. He went all around to Gujarat, Maharashtra, Punjab and everywhere and bought lots of manuscripts. Not all about medicine, Jain manuscript about Bhaktamar and all these things. Yeah. He bought quite a few manuscripts and brought here. And so Glaxo Laboratories has got a very big collection.
And Welcome Trust.
That is Welcome Trust now.
Where is it? Is it for public?
Yes, you can go and read these things. They've got lots of manuscripts of Bhaktamar, Stotra and Nausmaran and all these things, lots of Jain manuscripts. Yes, so that's on Melbourne Road, Houston.
So all these manuscripts are copies of, so there is not one manuscript which you say this is the original and everything else is copy. So
Probably not survived, most probably. I think the oldest one which has survived is probably 1,000-year-old in India, in Jaisalmer. Jaisalmer has got the largest collection in India. Second largest is probably now in Ahmedabad. But there used to be 4, 5 very good bhandar, what we call bhandar collections here. Jaisalmer is one. Then there was Khambat, Ahmedabad, Limbadi, Palitana has got big one now. And there are few more here. The state has got very good collection. Huge bhandars. Thousands of.
also in English and translated or just as is original?
Not everything's been translated into English. Of course, as I said, there are probably total collection is more than 200,000 manuscripts here. in India.
Why is Jainism not in public domain? In comparing to the amount of literature and things written about it.
Yeah, there are quite a few reasons, Not many Jain followers, that's one thing. And we used to preserve everything and read. That's the thing. And people have misunderstood Jainism. Yes. Plus different factions, Svetambars and Digambars used to fight Sthanavasis and Deravasis.
But now it's coming out here. Now they are spreading it more.
Now spread. The use of internet, other things, liberal attitude, people mixing, everything that is helping now.
Is there some easy answer? Because when you read all this, even these books right now, because of the translation from Sanskrit to English, they put a and dot on something, or they put underlines some words. So what does that indicate?
They are diacritic marks. Diacritic marks. Say English language, if you see the keyboard, there are only 26 letters in alphabet. In the Sanskrit alphabet or Gujarati, you need more than 52 keys. So how do you do this? Say if you write Rama, how would you write? R-A-M or R-A-M-A. But what does it mean? R-A-M-A. It could be Rama. It could be Rama. It could be Ram. Right? So there is no proper way of writing Sanskrit words or Gujarati words in English. So what scholars have done, they have invented diacritic marks. So if it is Ram, you write R, A, then a line above A. That means it is A, not A. It is Ra, not Ram. Right? Because when I write Kapashi, it is K-A, but not Ka. Kapashi, not Kapashi, Kapashi. If it was Kapashi, then I would write K and A and line on the top. That would make Kapashi. So that is diacritic mark. Ram is R, A has got the line on it, and then Ma. And if you want to write A, that A without diacritic mark, then if you write, say, if the name is Rama, then R, A with a line, M, A with a line. Similarly, we have got Na and Hana. Pana Shano. So how do you write? P-A-N-A-S-A-N-O. But someone who doesn't know original language, you say Pana Sano. Right? So dot under N means Hana. Hana. These are all diacritic marks. It's a different thing altogether. It's been accepted by scholars.
So where do we get this? Because sometimes when we are reading in English and something which is written in Gujarati, so how do you get this information? This means
Well, generally in many books you will see on second or third page or somewhere. I'm not sure whether I have seen this book. I'm just explaining everything in my own way. So, yeah. But probably given in many books. Yeah. See, that's why, as I said, we have got too many letters. Ta and tha, kha and ka. Everything, yeah, like that. We got ta and ta. So that is why the difference is there. They are diacritic marks. So if you want to write a thesis, you are supposed to learn all these diacritic marks and write in that manner only.
Yes, but that's a little bit away from the subject we are discussing. When one becomes omniscient, the truth is one, as we all accept. Why are there different religions like Buddhism say something different than Jainism? Lord Buddha achieved omniscience. He must have said the same thing as Lord Maru said. So why is the difference, or is it the interpretation which is different?
Interpretation of omniscience or interpretation of the religion itself?
Of their sermons. Is it that, or is it really they say two different things?
They are saying one thing in a different way. That is the thing, if you learn about Lord Mahavir's life and Lord Buddha's life, they went through similar things. Exactly. Both were born in North India. Both were born in 6th century BCE. Both were born in royal household. Both left their possession and wife and children and all this wealth and happiness, everything, and went in search of eternal bliss or to find a permanent happiness. But then both went in a different way, isn't it? Lord Mahavir's ideology started on one point, that how should I make everyone happy? Buddha thought, because he had seen old man, beggar, corpse, everything, you probably know about Lord Buddha's life, isn't it? Yeah? And he thought that there is a misery everywhere. What should I do to end all these things? So line of thinking went on a different track. And then the theory developed in a different way. Mahavir thought that, okay, I cannot call myself really happy unless everyone around us, around me is happy. So that's how the philosophy of ahimsa developed. Once you start developing the philosophy of ahimsa, you think about what's around you. Then you think about jiva and non-jiva, ajiva and ajiva. So that's how everything develops. Yeah. And Buddha thought that, oh, there is misery everywhere. And he said, he gave Chattari Arya Satya, fourfold noble truth. There is misery everywhere, but there is a solution. There is a path leading to it, and the final path is moksha. This is his philosophy. So they gave it in a different way, everything, Buddhism and Mahavir. But both gave one message of ahimsa and compassion. That is there.
But on a similar kind of topic, and it's diverting a bit, what about Jains then believing in Ganesh and all these other Hindu deities? I mean, is there some quick answer to that? Or
Just a Hindu influence, 100% Hindu influence, because we are surrounded by the Hindu majority. Jains are less than 1% in India, and more than 75% are Hindus. So the Jainism has gone through that complete cultural transformation, not theoretical transformation, not religious transformation, but cultural transformation. We have become almost Hindu. Name, clothing. We celebrate Hindu festivals and Navratri and Raksha Bandhan and all these things because this is the influence. See, even in this country, our children, they celebrate Christmas because a lot of people put Christmas tree. And I always say there's nothing wrong. It's when you celebrate something, it's a joyful occasion. Do that, yeah. So we have gone through that transformation. We have almost become Hindus. And then we have accepted or adopted Hindu gods and goddesses and everything.
yeah, but would that be true? So would you then believe that Ganesh would be a devlok in one of this upper world?
It has become so complicated. They say even in a Moti Santi, Brihad Santi, which has been compiled a long time ago, all Ganesh, all these Hindu, what we call Hindu devas now, they have been incorporated. Kshatrapada, Vidya Devis. So they are on Jain religion now almost. The idea of that concept is there in Jainism. Yeah. And Yaksha and Yakshini concept. If you read my book about Navsmaran, I explained this in quite a detail, how this came. And there is one thing happened in the state of Gujarat in some 14th, 15th or 16th centuries. Saint Vallabhacharya came to Gujarat. And followers of Kalpacharya brought their own ideology. That ideology was based on Krishna and Krishna's Leela. Krishna's Leela means Krishna used to play with gopis and they used to do Ras, Garba and all these things, all the festivities and lots of joy and everything. So, lots of Jains were converted into that thing because for them Jainism was too dry. It was the path for people who just want to sit down and do samayika and pratikraman and everything, Yeah. And that attracted a lot of people.
Is it still surviving? Are they still followers?
Oh, that is a very strong thing. Here even we got temples of Vallabhacharya. Yeah. Those Srinathji and
I see.
Yeah. So that's always true. Theoretical Jainism is very good, obviously. But a lot of common people, those who don't want to know about scriptures, they are not learned or they don't want to, do anything. They want some sort of festivities. Yeah? Where people get together, celebrate everything together, sing, dance, have nice dinner, all these things. And that's how religion survives. You like it or not, but that's what is true. Yeah. If I say that we will do Samayika tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning, and say for maybe a pratikraman for 3 hours, there will be no food, no drink, nothing. How many will come? And if I say that we'll have some nice music and food afterward, and we'll sing and dance and all these Jain songs, how many will come? Nice dinner after that and everything. But that keeps the society and everything going. So that's also necessary. That's also necessary. You can't have everything too dry and too theoretical. All these things.
But Lord Krishna and Nemina, they were cousins.
They were cousins, yeah.
And he was the Jain disciple.
Well, Nemina is Jain Tirthankar, and it says that Krishna will be Jain Tirthankar one day.
They say in this Jatra, I think, it is not for Jain.
For Jain, yes, it is.
It is a Sthanakvasi.
Only Sthanakvasi said they do not believe in idol worship and temple worship. Yes, sure. Yeah. Free to go. I know it's. Sorry, you've taken longer time.